What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this, you might be a disembodied brain floating in space, hallucinating your entire life? What if everyone around you is actually an unconscious zombie with no inner experience? What if humanity is doomed to extinction and we just don't know it yet? These aren't hypotheticals. These are actual scientific and philosophical theories that people way smarter than me take seriously. And they're about to absolutely ruin your day. Sorry in advance. Look, I'm not here to make you feel better about existence. I'm here to show you 5 theories that actual scientists and philosophers actually believe. Theories that basically say everything you think you know about reality might be completely wrong. And the worst part, once you understand these, you can't unlearn them. They stick with you. They change how you see everything. So if you came here for like good vibes and positive energy, maybe click away now, save yourself. But if you want to know what some of the smartest people in history have figured out about human existence, well, buckle up, I guess. We're going to move through 5 theories, and I'm warning you, they get progressively worse, like each one is worse than the last. We'll start with simulation theory, which you've probably heard of. Then we'll get into Boltzmann Brains, which is, honestly, this one's more disturbing than simulation theory in ways that are going to mess you up. Then philosophical zombies, the great filter, and finally, heat death and entropy. By the end of this, you're either going to feel weirdly liberated by cosmic meaninglessness or deeply, deeply disturbed. Maybe both. Probably both, actually. All right, let's start with the one everyone thinks they understand but actually don't. Theory number 1, simulation theory. You might be living in a computer simulation right now, like right now. Okay, so you've definitely heard this one before, right? Elon Musk talks about it. It shows up in movies. People make jokes about glitches in the Matrix when weird stuff happens. But the actual philosophical argument for why we might be in a simulation is way more solid and way more unsettling than the pop culture version. Like, this isn't just sci-fi nonsense. The argument comes from this philosopher named Nick Bostrom, and it goes like this. One of 3 things must be true. Either civilizations like ours always go extinct before they develop the technology to run realistic simulations of conscious beings, or civilizations that develop this technology choose not to run these simulations for some reason, or, and here's the kicker, we are almost certainly living in a simulation right now. Think about that for a second. Those are your only 3 options according to what's called Bostrom's trilemma. And here's why this actually makes sense, even though it sounds insane. If a civilization reaches a certain level of a technological development, they would have the computing power to run billions, maybe trillions of simulated realities populated by conscious beings who genuinely think they're real, like full simulated universes with simulated people who have no idea they're simulated. Now, if even just one advanced civilization decides to run these simulations, then the number of simulated conscious beings would vastly outnumber the real ones, like not even close. For every one actual real human, there could be billions of simulated humans who have absolutely no idea they're in a simulation. So, statistically, if simulations are possible and anyone ever runs them, you're almost certainly in one right now. Because what are the odds that you're one of the few real humans versus one of the literally billions of simulated ones? Like, astronomically low. And before you say, yeah, but that's just a thought experiment, that's not real, remember that we're already building increasingly realistic simulations ourselves. Video games are getting insane. AI is getting scary good. Virtual reality keeps advancing. We're literally on a path toward creating conscious simulations. So why wouldn't a civilization like 1,000 years more advanced than us have already done it? Why wouldn't they have done it 1,000,000 times? But here's where it gets really, really unsettling, and this is the part people don't think about. If we're in a simulation, who created it? And more importantly, why? Maybe it's like a research project for them. Maybe it's entertainment, like we're like The Sims to them. Maybe it's a historical recreation, like they're studying how civilizations developed. Or maybe, and this is the genuinely disturbing part, maybe the simulators don't care about us at all. Maybe we're just background noise in someone else's experiment. Maybe they're running millions of these things and ours is completely insignificant to them. We're just data. And here's the thing that really messes with you when you think about it too long. If we're in a simulation, the simulators could change the rules at any time. They could just shut it down. Poof, gone. They could rewrite your memories, they could alter reality itself, and you would never know, because your perception of consistency would be rewritten too. Everything you think is stable, permanent, real, could just be arbitrary code that gets edited on a whim, like a game developer patching a bug. Descartes, the old philosopher guy, he had this thought experiment about an evil demon that might be deceiving you about everything. Simulation theory is basically that, but with computers instead of demons. And unlike Descartes' demon, simulation theory doesn't require anything supernatural, just technology. Advanced technology, sure, but just technology, which somehow makes it feel more plausible? The philosophical implications here are massive. If nothing is fundamentally real, if everything is just rendered code, then what does that mean for meaning itself? Like your relationships, your accomplishments, your suffering, all just data in someone else's computer. And you can't escape it, because there's literally no evidence you could possibly find that would prove you're not simulated. Any evidence could just be part of the simulation. The simulation could include fake evidence that you're not in a simulation. It's turtles all the way down. So that's theory one. Everything might be fake. Your entire reality might be a rendered illusion created by beings who may or may not even care that you exist. Fun, right? But at least in a simulation, there are creators, right? There's some intelligence behind it, some purpose, even if you don't know what it is. There's a reason you exist, even if it's just to be someone's entertainment. Theory number two takes even that away from you. Theory number two, Boltzmann Brains. You might be a spontaneous fluctuation in empty space, and everything you remember is just a hallucination, all of it. Okay, this one is genuinely disturbing in a way that simulation isn't, and I'm just going to warn you, this one messed me up when I first learned about it, because at least simulation theory implies some kind of structure, some creators, some reason you exist. Boltzmann brains? Pure cosmic randomness. And the math, the actual math, suggests you're more likely to be one of these than an actual real human, which is insane. Here's how it works, and stay with me because this gets weird fast. The second law of thermodynamics says that entropy, which is basically disorder or randomness, always increases over time. Always. The universe is constantly moving toward maximum entropy, this state called heat death, where everything is evenly distributed and nothing interesting can happen anymore. Everything just stops. But, and this is where it gets really weird, in an infinite or near infinite universe, random quantum fluctuations can occasionally, like very occasionally, decrease entropy locally. Particles can just randomly assemble into complex structures just by pure chance, like monkeys on typewriters eventually writing Shakespeare, except it's particles randomly forming stuff. Now, most of the time, these fluctuations are tiny and meaningless, like a few particles bump into each other and then separate. Nothing interesting. But given enough time, like truly vast, incomprehensible amounts of time, a fluctuation could randomly create something as complex as a human brain. Just poof, a brain floating in space, complete with false memories, false perceptions, a false sense of existing in a body and a world, and then like a second later, it dissipates back into chaos. Gone. This is called a Boltzmann brain, named after the physicist Ludwig Boltzmann, who worked on statistical mechanics and entropy and all this thermodynamics stuff. And here's the part that's going to keep you up at night. It's statistically more likely that you are a Boltzmann brain right now than an actual evolved human in an actual universe. Wait, what? How does that even make sense? Okay, think about it this way. Creating an entire universe with billions of galaxies, billions of stars in each galaxy, billions of planets around those stars, and then having life actually evolve on one of those planets over billions of years, and then having that life develop into complex organisms with brains and consciousness. That's an incredibly ordered, low-entropy state. That requires an absolutely massive amount of structure and complexity, and things going exactly right. It's incredibly unlikely. But creating just a single brain, a disembodied brain floating in the void with false memories of a universe, that's way, way less complex. It requires way less order, way less precision. It's still incredibly unlikely, but it's way more likely than an entire universe. So given infinite time and random fluctuations, you're statistically more likely to spontaneously appear as a Boltzmann brain than to exist as a real brain in a real universe. Which means, and I'm sorry about this, right now, as you're watching this video, it is legitimately more probable that you're a disembodied brain that spontaneously formed in the void like 3 seconds ago, complete with fake memories of your entire life, fake memories of clicking on this video, fake memories of everything you think you've experienced, and absolutely none of it is real. You're hallucinating all of it. And in a few moments, maybe a few seconds, you'll just dissipate back into nothing. You'll stop existing and you'll never even know, because the you that existed will be gone. And the really messed up part? You literally cannot disprove this, like at all, because any evidence you think you have that you're real, your memories, your sensations, your sense of continuity, your perception that the world is consistent, all of that could be part of the hallucination. A Boltzmann brain would have the exact same subjective experience you're having right this second. Indistinguishable. This creates what philosophers and physicists call the Boltzmann brain problem. If Boltzmann brains are more common than real brains, and you can't tell the difference from the inside, then why should you trust anything? Why should you trust your memories? Why should you trust that your perceptions, why should you trust that the universe follows consistent laws when you could just be a brief random fluctuation that happens to include false memories of a consistent universe? Like your whole sense of reality could just be noise, static that briefly looks like a pattern. Some cosmologists actually take this problem so seriously that they use it to rule out certain models of the universe. Like if a cosmological model predicts that Boltzmann brains outnumber real brains, they say that model must be wrong, because if it were true, we'd have absolutely no reason to trust any of our observations, including the observations that led us to that model in the first place. It becomes self-defeating. But here's the thing, we haven't actually solved the problem. We've just said we don't like the implications, so we're going to ignore models that predict it, which isn't exactly reassuring. And unlike simulation theory, there's no purpose here, no creators, no meaning, no reason, just random quantum fluctuations creating brief sparks of false consciousness in an empty void. You're not in a program, you're not in a matrix, you're just a statistical anomaly, a cosmic glitch, a ghost that thinks it's real. At least with simulation theory, someone made you. You exist for a reason, even if it's just to be data in someone's project. With Boltzmann brains, you're just an accident, a brief, meaningless accident in an empty universe. So that's theory 2. You might not be real. Your memories might not be real. Everything you think you know might be a hallucination that started seconds ago and will end in seconds more. Sleep well tonight. Okay, so let's say you're not a Boltzmann brain. Let's be generous and assume you're actually real. Let's say other people are real too. That's comforting, right? Like connection, relationships, shared experience, love. Other people exist and they're real, just like you. Except theory number 3 takes that away too. Sorry. Theory number 3, philosophical zombies. Everyone around you might be unconscious automatons with no inner life whatsoever. This is the one that actually disturbs me personally, and I'll tell you why. Because it hits at something we just completely take for granted without even thinking about. We assume that other people are conscious, that they have inner experiences like we do, that when they say they're happy or sad or in pain, they actually feel something real, like there's something it's like to be them. But you can't actually prove that at all. This is called the hard problem of consciousness, and it's a genuine philosophical problem that we haven't solved, like, at all. We've made zero progress on this. The philosopher David Chalmers is famous for really hammering this home. We can explain how the brain processes information, right? We can explain behavior, we can explain neural correlates of consciousness, like which parts of the brain light up when people report conscious experiences. But we cannot explain why there's something it's like to be you, why you have subjective experience at all, why you're not just a biological robot processing inputs and generating outputs with no inner experience. We can't explain that. And if we can't explain consciousness, we can't prove other people have it. A philosophical zombie, or P-zombie as they're called, which sounds way less scary than it actually is defined as a being that is functionally identical to a conscious human in every possible way, but has zero inner experience, no consciousness. It acts exactly like a conscious person would act. It talks, it laughs, it cries, it says it's conscious, it insists it has feelings, but there's nothing it's like to be a P-zombie. The lights are on, but literally nobody's home. It's empty inside, just machinery. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's absurd. If someone acts conscious, they must be conscious. But that's not logically necessary. You can imagine, like actually imagine, a world where evolution created beings that behave exactly like conscious humans, but have absolutely no subjective experience. They're just biological machines running incredibly complex programs, responding to stimuli, producing the right outputs. They cry when you'd expect them to cry, they laugh when you'd expect them to laugh, but they don't actually feel anything. No qualia, as philosophers call it. No inner life, just empty. And here's the really disturbing thing. You know you're conscious because you directly experience your own consciousness, right? Like you know there's something it's like to be you because you're experiencing it right now. But you don't directly experience anyone else's consciousness, ever. You can't. You can only observe their behavior and listen to what they say. And then you just assume that because other people have brains like yours and act kind of like you do, they must have inner experiences like you do. But that's just an assumption. A pretty reasonable assumption, sure, but it's still just an assumption. You're taking it on faith. You could be the only conscious being in the entire universe, surrounded by billions of philosophical zombies who perfectly mimic consciousness but feel absolutely nothing. They're sophisticated puppets, automatons, NPCs in a video game. Every conversation you've ever had could have been with an empty shell. Every relationship could be completely one-sided. You feeling genuine connection, genuine love, while the other person is just processing inputs and generating appropriate outputs with no actual experience of connection or love at all. They say, "I love you," because that's the programmed response, not because they feel anything, and you would never, ever know. Because a P-zombie, by definition, behaves exactly like a conscious person in every observable way. They pass every test. They say all the right things. They act all the right ways. They insist they're conscious if you ask them. They'd even argue with you about philosophy and claim to have subjective experiences. But it's all just mechanical, automatic, empty. This is sometimes called the problem of other minds, and it's been around for centuries. You have direct access to exactly one consciousness in the entire universe, yours. Everything else is just inference and hope. Now, I should say, most philosophers don't actually think P-zombies exist in our world. Like, the common argument is that consciousness must be a necessary result of certain kinds of information processing. So if something behaves exactly like a conscious being and has a brain like ours, it must be conscious. There's no extra special consciousness juice that could be missing. But we don't actually know that for sure. We're kind of just hoping it's true because the alternative is way too isolating and horrifying to accept. Some philosophers, like Daniel Dennett, go even further and say that P-zombies are actually logically inconceivable, that consciousness just is behavior and information processing, so there's no such thing as behaving exactly like a conscious being without actually being conscious. But Chalmers and a lot of other philosophers push back hard on this, arguing that you can absolutely conceive of beings that act conscious but aren't, like it's at least logically possible even if it's not actually true in our world. And the fact that really smart people are still furiously arguing about this means we genuinely haven't solved it, which means you genuinely cannot prove that anyone else is conscious. You just can't. Your parents, your best friends, your partner, if you have one, you're taking it on faith that they have inner lives, that there's someone home when you talk to them. But you could be alone, truly, fundamentally alone. The only actual spark of subjective experience in a universe full of empty automatons that look and act exactly like conscious beings, but aren't. And that's pretty isolating when you really sit with it. So that's theory 3. Other people might not be people the way you are. You might be the only conscious being in existence, and you'll never be able to prove otherwise. Okay, Deep breath. So even if other people aren't actually conscious, at least humanity as a species exists, right? Like at least we're here, we're real, we're surviving as a civilization. We've got that going for us. Except theory number 4 says maybe not for long. Theory number 4, the Great Filter. Something kills every single advanced civilization, and we either already miraculously passed it, or it's still ahead of us, waiting. This one comes from what's called the Fermi paradox, and if you haven't heard of this, it's gonna mess you up. So the universe is incredibly old, right? Like billions of years old, and it's incredibly vast. Billions of galaxies, billions of stars in each galaxy, billions of planets around those stars. The math says the odds that Earth is the only planet with life are basically zero. Statistically impossible. Life should be everywhere. So where is everyone? Where are all the aliens? If intelligent life is even remotely common in the universe, we should see evidence of it everywhere we look. Radio signals, megastructures like Dyson spheres, evidence of civilizations spreading across galaxies, something, but we see nothing. The universe is completely silent. We've been looking for decades and we've found absolutely nothing, not a single signal, not a single sign that anyone else is out there. It's just empty. The Great Filter is one proposed solution to this paradox, and it's terrifying. It says there's some kind of barrier, some filter that prevents civilizations from reaching the point where they become visible across the cosmos, some developmental stage that almost no one gets past. And the disturbing question that keeps scientists up at night is, where is that filter? Is it behind us or ahead of us? If the filter is behind us, that means the hard part was getting to where we are right now. Maybe the origin of life itself is incredibly rare. Maybe the jump from single-celled organisms to multi-celled organisms almost never happens. Maybe intelligence almost never evolves. Maybe technological civilization is a 1 in a trillion occurrence. If that's true, we're incredibly lucky. We're basically a cosmic lottery winner. We made it through the filter, and the future is wide open. We could spread to the stars, and we'd be alone, but we'd survive. But if the filter is ahead of us, then something kills every civilization before they can spread to the stars, every single one, and we just haven't hit it yet. We're still on the approach. Think about what that actually means for a second. Every civilization that's ever existed anywhere in this entire galaxy might have reached roughly our level of development, our level of technology, and then just gone, extinct, wiped out. Nuclear war, runaway climate collapse, AI that goes wrong and kills everyone, bioengineered pandemics, resource depletion, or something we haven't even thought of yet, something that becomes inevitable once you reach a certain level of technology. And if that's true, we're doomed. Not maybe doomed, not probably doomed, definitely doomed. Because whatever this thing is that kills civilizations, it's still ahead of us, and there's no particular reason to think we'll be the lucky exception. We're just another civilization heading toward the same brick wall that killed everyone else. Some versions of this are even darker, if you can believe it. There's this idea called the dark forest theory from a sci-fi novel by Lucy Chin, and it suggests that the universe is actually full of civilizations, but they're all hiding. Because any civilization that reveals itself, that broadcasts its location, gets immediately destroyed by older, more advanced civilizations who see all other intelligent life as existential threats. The universe isn't empty, it's full of predators waiting in the darkness, and the moment you turn on a light and announce your location, you die. You get wiped out. Either way, the Great Filter is absolutely terrifying because it suggests that extinction might not just be possible, it might be inevitable. That there's some developmental wall that every civilization hits and almost none of them, maybe none of them, ever get past it. And we won't know what it is until we slam into it ourselves. Maybe we'll develop artificial superintelligence and it immediately kills us all. Maybe we'll engineer a supervirus and it escapes the lab. Maybe we'll trigger runaway climate change that we literally cannot stop. Maybe it's nuclear war. Maybe it's something we can't even imagine yet because we're not technologically advanced enough to see it coming. But the silence of the universe really suggests that something is killing everyone. And statistically, we're probably next in line. Robin Hanson, the economist who popularized the term Great Filter, put it super bluntly. He said the more we search for life in the universe and don't find it, the worse the news is for us, because it means the filter is probably ahead, not behind. Every time we look at Mars and find no evidence of past life, that's actually bad news for humanity. Every time we study exoplanets and don't find any biosignatures, any signs of life, that's bad news, because it means life is super rare, which means maybe the filter is behind us. But if we found evidence of life everywhere, like simple life that never became complex or intelligent, that would actually be good news. It would mean the hard part, the filter, is already done. We passed it. But if we ever found evidence of dead civilizations, like actual ruins of advanced societies that destroyed themselves, that would be the worst possible news, because it would prove that the filter is definitely ahead, and it's definitely lethal. It kills everyone. So, that's theory 4. Humanity might be genuinely doomed, not by bad luck, not by poor choices, but by some kind of universal law or inevitable development stage that kills all civilizations. We're all just waiting to find out what specifically kills us. Fun times. At least we had a good run though, right? At least we existed for a while, built civilizations, created art and philosophy and science and meaning. Like, that counts for something, that matters. Except, theory 5 says no, actually it doesn't count for anything. Theory number 5, heat death and entropy. The universe will eventually end in cold, dark, meaningless nothing, and absolutely everything you've ever done will be completely and permanently erased. All of it. So this isn't speculation or philosophy. This is just physics, hard science. The second law of thermodynamics, which is one of the most fundamental laws of the universe, says that entropy always increases in a closed system. Always. No exceptions. Order becomes disorder. Energy becomes evenly distributed and unusable. Eventually, everything winds down, and eventually the universe reaches maximum entropy. This is called heat death, and it's the final state of the universe. Here's what that actually means. Stars will eventually burn out. All of them. Galaxies will drift apart as the universe expands. Black holes, which seem permanent, will eventually evaporate through something called Hawking radiation. It takes an incomprehensibly long time, but they evaporate. Eventually, trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years from now, there will be no stars left, no planets, no structures of any kind, just a cold, dark, empty universe where every single particle is so far from every other particle that nothing can ever interact with anything else ever again. Nothing can happen. No energy can flow. It's just over. The timescale is so big it's basically meaningless to us, like trillions upon trillions of years. But it's coming. It's absolutely certain. The math is ironclad. And when it does, everything ends. And I mean everything. Every thought anyone has ever had, every emotion, every work of art, every scientific discovery, every act of love or kindness or beauty or courage or meaning. Gone. Not just forgotten, because there's no one left to forget, erased, dissolved into maximum entropy. It's as if none of it ever happened. Nothing you do matters in the long run because there literally is no long run. There's only heat death. The universe doesn't care what you did. It's not even indifferent to you. It's not capable of caring. It's just a thermodynamic system winding down to equilibrium. This is like the ultimate cosmic nihilism. You can build empires, cure diseases, save lives, create masterpieces, and it all amounts to exactly nothing because eventually, inevitably, entropy wins. The universe doesn't preserve anything. It doesn't remember. It just ends. And you can't escape it. There's no way out. Some people like to speculate about maybe escaping to other universes or creating new universes or somehow surviving as pure information or energy or consciousness, but these are just fantasies. There's zero evidence any of that is possible. The laws of physics are pretty clear. Entropy increases. The universe dies. Everything dies with it. Everything ends. Absolutely, permanently, meaninglessly. The philosopher Bertrand Russell wrote about this, and his phrasing is so bleak it's almost poetic. He said that all the labors of the ages, all the devotion, all the inspiration, all the noonday brightness of human genius are destined to extinction in the vast death of the solar system, and the whole temple of human achievement must inevitably be buried beneath the debris of a universe in ruins. Like, damn, dude. But he's right. You can't argue with thermodynamics. The math doesn't care about your feelings. Some people try to find comfort in saying, well, even if everything ends eventually, it mattered while it lasted, right? Like the journey matters, even if the destination is nothing. But did it, though? If the ending erases everything completely, then in what actual sense did it matter? It mattered to who? The universe doesn't have preferences. It doesn't remember. It doesn't care. When heat death comes, it'll be exactly as if nothing ever happened at all. No trace. No record, no meaning. You could try to argue that meaning is subjective, that things matter to us even if they don't matter cosmically or objectively, and okay, sure, that's technically true, but that's just postponing the problem, because we end too. Your subjective meaning dies when you die, and then what? What was the point? Some people turn to ideas like eternal recurrence, this concept that maybe the universe cycles somehow and everything happens again infinitely. Nietzsche played with this idea, but even if that were true, and there's zero evidence it is, it doesn't actually help, because each version of you in each cycle doesn't know about the other versions. When you die, you're still dead. The fact that maybe another version of you might exist in another cycle billions of years from now doesn't make your death any less final. You're still gone. So that's theory 5. The universe ends in cold, empty darkness, and everything you are, everything you've done, everything humanity has ever accomplished or ever will accomplish will be permanently and completely erased. Entropy wins. Always. Forever. Okay, so let's take a breath here, because that was genuinely a lot. Like, a lot. 5 theories, each one somehow more disturbing than the last. You might be in a simulation. You might be a hallucinating brain that popped into existence 3 seconds ago. Everyone you love might be unconscious automatons with no inner life. Humanity might be inevitably doomed to extinction. And even if literally none of that is true, the universe absolutely, definitely ends in heat death and erases everything anyway. So, what do we do with this information? Because you can't unknow it now. Sorry about that. These ideas are in your head now. They're going to surface at like 3 in the morning when you're trying to sleep, when you're having a conversation with someone you love, when you're trying to find meaning in your life. They're there now. But here's the thing, and I genuinely mean this. These theories aren't just depressing. They're also, in this really weird way, kind of liberating. Like, actually liberating. If nothing is fundamentally real, if consciousness might be an illusion or a hallucination, if meaning is completely arbitrary and temporary, then you're free. You're genuinely free. Free from the pressure to live up to some cosmic significance that doesn't actually exist. Free from the idea that you're somehow failing at something cosmically important. Free to just make your own meaning, create your own purpose, even if it's temporary and subjective and doesn't matter to the universe, because the universe doesn't care either way. This is basically the core of existentialism and absurdism, these philosophical movements. Camus, this French philosopher, said that life is fundamentally absurd. There's no inherent meaning, no cosmic purpose, no grand plan for any of this. It's all just kind of random and meaningless. And he said the appropriate response to this isn't despair or suicide, it's rebellion. You create meaning in active defiance of meaninglessness. You love people even though you can't prove they're conscious. You build things even though they'll eventually end. You live even though you're going to die. You care about stuff even though nothing matters cosmically. Camus said we must imagine Sisyphus happy. You know, Sisyphus from Greek mythology, the guy who has to push a boulder up a hill forever, and every time he gets to the top, it rolls back down and he has to start over. That's us. We know everything ends. We know nothing matters cosmically. We do it anyway. We push the boulder, and we can choose to find meaning in the pushing itself. Nietzsche had a pretty similar idea with something he called amor fati, which means love of fate. You fully accept reality exactly as it is, including all its meaninglessness and horror and randomness, and you choose to love it anyway. Not because it's good or because there's some secret plan, just because it's yours. It's your life, your existence, and you can choose how to respond to it. And maybe that's actually enough. Maybe meaning doesn't have to be cosmic or eternal or objective to be real and valuable. Maybe it just has to be felt. Maybe it just has to matter to you. Think about it. If you're in a simulation, okay, but the experiences still feel completely real to you, right? The joy and pain and love you feel are real experiences, even if the substrate is simulated. If you're a Boltzmann brain hallucinating everything, well, the hallucination is all you've got and all you'll ever have, so you might as well engage with it fully. If other people are zombies with no consciousness, you still have the subjective experience of connection and love with them, and that experience is what matters to you. If humanity is doomed by the great filter, well, you can still make the time we have left meaningful and beautiful. If the universe ends in heat death trillions of years from now, that's trillions of years away. And right now, in this moment, you're here. You exist. You're experiencing something. This isn't cope. This isn't just trying to make ourselves feel better with pretty words. This is genuinely what philosophers conclude when they actually sit with these ideas for long enough and work through them seriously. You cannot argue your way out of cosmic meaninglessness. You can't logic your way into objective purpose. But you can choose how you respond to the meaninglessness. You can choose what you do with your time. You can choose what matters to you. Some people find this absolutely horrifying, the idea that you have to create your own meaning, that there's no objective purpose just handed to you by the universe or God or whatever, feels like this crushing burden. And it is a burden. It's the burden of freedom, the burden of choice. But some people, and I'm kind of in this camp honestly, find it genuinely liberating. Because if nothing matters cosmically, if there's no grand cosmic scorekeeper, then you literally can't fail cosmically. There's no way to screw up your cosmic purpose because you don't have one. You can just be. You can pursue whatever interests you, love whoever you love, create whatever you want to create, without needing it to be cosmically justified or eternally preserved. The universe doesn't care about you, and that means you get to decide what matters. You're free. I'm not going to lie to you and say these theories don't disturb me, because they absolutely do. The idea that I might be the only conscious being, that everything might end, that nothing might be real in the way I think it is, it's genuinely unsettling. It sits in the back of my mind, and sometimes it surfaces and messes with me. But I also think there's something really valuable and honest about facing these possibilities head-on, instead of just pretending they don't exist or dismissing them. Because they do exist. These are real ideas that smart people take seriously and can't fully refute. And ignoring disturbing truths doesn't make them less true. It just makes you less prepared. So yeah, you might be in a simulation. You might be a brief cosmic fluctuation. Everyone around you might be philosophical zombies. Humanity might be doomed. The universe definitely ends eventually. But you're here, right now. You're experiencing something, even if you can't be totally sure what it is or whether it's real. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the fact that you're asking these questions, that you're disturbed by these theories, that you care about truth and meaning and existence, maybe that's the only meaning there is. The search itself. The questioning itself. And honestly, I think that might actually be enough. So which of these theories messed you up the most? Like genuinely, which one hit hardest? Was it simulation theory, the idea that nothing is real? Boltzmann brains, the idea that you might not be real? Zombies, the idea that no one else is actually conscious? The great filter, the idea that we're all doomed? Or heat death, the idea that everything ends no matter what? Let me know in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious which one resonates most with different people. For me personally, it's the zombie thing. The idea that I might be fundamentally alone in my consciousness, that everyone I love might be empty inside. That's the one that really gets under my skin and stays there. But maybe for you, it's something completely different. Let me know.